All right, thanks, guys. We are currently 2-0 in our last couple of NFL teaser plays. We're 13-3-1 in our last 17 daily double plays. And we're also 14-3-1 in our last 18 college football plays. And you can find all that action on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. All right, guys, let's go ahead and slide into some NFL Week 5 action. We're going to go ahead and begin with the Thursday night game, and that is going to be Rams taking on the Seahawks. And that's an 8:20 Eastern kickoff in Seattle. Now, this one's currently a pick'em contest, even money on both sides, total at 49. Now, the Rams did open up this matchup as the 2.5-point favorite. Total opened at 48. We saw movement downward on the spread and upward on the total. So once again, the Rams open 2.5 down to a pick'em. Total open 48 up to 49. The Seahawks are taking 54% of the consensus action. And right now, 68% of the consensus is shaded toward the over. Now, the Rams are 3-1 straight up on the year, 3-1 against the spread. The Seahawks on the other side, 3-1 on the year themselves. They're just 2-2 against the number. And when it comes to the Seahawk team, they've dropped 7 out of their last 10 head-to-head matchups with the Rams. Seattle's failed to cover against Cincinnati and New Orleans. And that New Orleans game was a straight-up loss, 33-27. Now, the Seahawk defense is giving up 26.3 points per contest before Week 4's game versus Arizona. And when it comes to the injury report, the Seahawks have Thorpe, Pocic, and Penny listed as questionable. Dixon, Reed, Jones, Moore, Simmons still out for the Seahawks. Now, the Rams on the other side, they're scoring a whole bunch of points. No real surprises there. They're averaging 29.3 points per contest. They have successful covers over Cleveland, New Orleans, and Carolina. They're 7-2 against the number in their last 9, dating back to last season. They're also 7-3 against the number in their last 10 divisional games. Now, total-wise, the Rams are 2-2 to the over on the year. Seattle 2-1 to the over in their last 3. They're also 5-1 to the over in their last 6, taking on a divisional opponent. I'm going to lean Rams winning this one outright, and the over 49 in that game. All right, next matchup. It is going to be Atlanta taking on the Texans, 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff in Houston. The Texans are -5, total 49. Saw a 0.5 point move toward Houston and movement downward on the total. The Texans open 4.5 up to -5. Total open 49.5 down to 49. Right now, the Texans are 2-2 on the year, 2-2 against the number. Meanwhile, Atlanta on the other side, just 1-3 on the year, 1-3 against the spread. This Houston defense, they've been pretty good as of late. They're allowing just 16 points per contest in their last 3. Houston also has successful covers over the Chargers and the Saints. Their offense is averaging 28 points per contest in those successful covers. Now, Atlanta on the other side got a slew of guys on the injury report. We're looking at Mack, Wilson, Barner, and Brown, all listed as questionable. Then we have Wilcox, Means, Bennett, Neal, Benkert, still all listed as out for this week. Now, Atlanta's giving up 25 points per contest. They gave up 28 points to Minnesota this year, and they gave up 27 to Indy as well. Now, total-wise, Atlanta 3-1 to the under thus far on the season. Houston 3-0 to the under in their last trio of ball games. I'm going to lean Houston -5 and the under 49 in that game. Next matchup, Jacksonville taking on Carolina, and that's going to be a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff in Charlotte. The Panthers, believe it or not, are -3.5 in this one, total at 41. We saw a 0.5 point move toward Carolina. We also saw movement downward on the total. Panthers open 3 up to 3.5. Total open 42 down to 41. Both teams are 2-2 on the year. Jacksonville 3-1 against the number. Meanwhile, Carolina failing to cover in 2 out of their 4 ball games. Jacksonville has covers over Houston, Tennessee, and Denver. Their defense is allowing just 14 points per contest in those successful covers. The Jags are 2-0 straight up in their last 2. I normally don't mention player names just because you're getting that content everywhere else. I try to cap these games and present content a little bit differently, but we cannot ignore the fact that Gardner Minshew is a stud. The guy can play. He's a football player, and the Jags are 2-0 straight up in his 2 starts. They're also 3-0 against the spread in their last 3. And if you're into historical trends, the Jags are 4-2 against the spread in their last 6, dating back to last season. Now, this Carolina defense on the other side, they're allowing 20 points per contest. They failed to win and cover over the Bucs and the Rams this year. We have Newton and Green listed as out for Carolina. We also have Short, Turner, Jackson, and Burns listed as questionable for this game. Now, total-wise, Carolina 6-3 to the under in their last 9, dating back to last season. Jacksonville, on the other side, 5-2 to the under in their last 7 themselves. I'm going to purchase the half a point, buy it up, and take Jacksonville +4 and the under 41 in that game. And before we go ahead and move on, just want to take another quick timeout and welcome you to the show. Got some lines and personal leans out for NFL Week 5. But before we dive into some more of that, I just want to quickly remind you to check me out once again on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. We're 2-0 in our last 2 NFL teaser plays. We're also 13-3-1 in our last 17 daily double picks. And we are 14-3-1 on the college football season. All that's documented. You can locate that on patreon.com/BrockPage. That's a part of the free content. You'll find that record immediately as you open up the homepage. Once again, plenty of free content there as well. Link for that site is in the description section below. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get back into some more lines of personal leans. All starts Eastern Standard Time. And on deck, we've got the Patriots taking on the Redskins. And that's going to be a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff in the nation's capital. The Patriots are -14.5, total 45 and a hook. Saw a 1.5 point move toward New England, moving downward on the total. The Pats open 13, up to 14.5. Total open 47.5, down to 45 and a hook. 72% are leaning Patriots, 76% shaded toward the under. Right now, the Skins are 0-4 on the year, 1-3 against the number. Meanwhile, the Pats 4-0 on the season, 2-2 against the spread. This Washington defense is allowing 30 points per contest. They failed to cover against the Giants, the Bears, and the Cowboys. Meanwhile, on the other side, this New England offense is putting up 31 points per contest. Their defense is allowing just 6 points per game. They beat Pittsburgh, Miami, the Jets, and Buffalo by an average of 26.3 points per contest. Now, total-wise, New England 2-0 to the under on the road. I'm going to purchase the half a point, slide it down, and take the Patriots -14 and the under 45 and a hook. Next game, Bucks, Saints, 1 o'clock New Orleans. The Saints are -5.5, total 47 and a hook. We saw a 1 point fade of New Orleans and movement upward on the total. The Saints open 6.5, down to 5.5, total open 47, up to 47.5. 87% of the consensus is leaning toward Tampa Bay. The Bucks are 2-2 on the year, 2-2 against the spread. Meanwhile, the Saints on the other side, 3-1 on the season, 2-2 against the number. New Orleans failed to cover against Houston and the Rams. Their defense allowed 28 points per contest in those failures to cover. We're looking at Smith and Chat, both questionable for this Sunday's action for New Orleans. And speaking of the Saints and the number, they failed to cover in 7 out of their last 9 ball games, even when they are 100% healthy. Of course, that's dating back to last season. Now, Tampa Bay on the other side, they scored 86 points in their last 2 games. They have covers over the Rams and the Panthers. They're also 7-3 against the spread in their last 10 divisional matchups. And when it comes to the total, Tampa Bay 2-0 to the over in their last couple of games. They gave up 31 or more in 3 out of those 4 games. So, Tampa Bay, they might give it up, but I think they can keep it close here. I'm going to purchase the half a point, buy it back up, and take the Buccaneers +6 and the over 47.5 in that game. Next matchup, Jets, Eagles. 1 o'clock, Lincoln Financial Field. The Eagles are -14, total 44.5. 65% are leaning Jets, 86% shaded toward the under. The Eagles are 2-2 on the year, 1-3 against the number. Meanwhile, the Jets on the other side, 0-3 on the season, 1-2 against the spread. Philadelphia has a bunch of guys on the injury report. We're looking at Jackson, Jones, and Maddox all listed as questionable. Of course, with this Eagles secondary, when you have Jones and Maddox listed as questionable, that might not be a bad thing. Might want to give those guys a break as their opponents have been torching them in the secondary. Anyway, when it comes to players listed as out, we still have Timmy Jernigan, Ronald Darby, and Kamu Grugier-Hill listed as out. You will not see them playing this Sunday. This Philly defense is allowing 26.3 points per contest. And when it comes to the total, the Eagles are 2-0 to the over at the link. I think the Jets should be able to keep this close. Philadelphia has not covered a spread as the home favorite in a really, really long time. And we're looking back the past couple of seasons for that particular trend. So I'm going to lean Jets plus 14 and the over 44.5 in that game. Next matchup, Cardinals, Bengals. And that's going to be a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff in Cincinnati. The Bengals are minus 4.5. Total 48 and a hook. Not a whole lot of movement on the total. Pretty good two-way action there. We did see movement upward with regard to the spread. The Bengals open minus 4 up to 4.5. Total's 48 and a hook. 72% of the consensus is leaning toward the Cards. 77% shaded toward the under. Now, we do not have a win between these two squads. The Bengals are 0-3 on the year. Meanwhile, Arizona 0-3-1 on the season. But we do have some covers out of both of these teams. They are showing a little bit of fight. The Cardinals 2-2 against the spread thus far in the season. The Bengals 2-1 against the number themselves. Now, Cincinnati lost to Buffalo, San Fran, and Seattle. They averaged just 18 points per contest in those games. And the Bengals have dropped 9 out of their last 10 ball games dating back to last year. Now, Arizona on the other side, they have covers over Baltimore and Detroit. They're 1-0 against the number away from home as well. When it comes to the total, Arizona 2-1 to the under in their last 3. Cincinnati 2-1 to the under in their last 3 themselves. I'm going to lean toward the road dog in this one to cover. Give me Arizona plus 5 and the under 48.5 in that game. Next matchup, Bills, Titans. That's going to be a 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff in Tennessee. The Titans are minus 2, total 38.5. So movement toward Tennessee and movement upward on the total. The Titans open minus 1 up to minus 2. Total open 38 up to 38 and a hook. 52% are leaning Titans. 55% shaded toward the under. Right now, Tennessee's 2-2 on the season. Buffalo 3-1 straight up on the year. They're also 3-1 against the spread. The Titans are 2-2 against the number themselves, but they are taking on a Buffalo offense who's averaging just 19 points per contest. They scored only 17 versus the Jets and only 21 versus the Bengals. We have Long, Croft, Allen, Johnson, Foster, Thompson, Singletary, all listed as questionable for Buffalo. Meanwhile, we have Waddle, Taylor, Kroom, Phillips, Love, Joseph, and Dodson still out. So we got a lot of players banged up for Buffalo, although their defense was incredibly impressive against the Patriots. Now, Tennessee, they have covers over Atlanta and Cleveland. They're holding their opponents to just 11 points per contest in those covers. This Tennessee defense, they're allowing just 15 points per contest on the year, and they're 6-4 in their last 10 covering against Buffalo. So 6-4 ATS in their last 10 head-to-head matchups with the Bills if you're into historical trends. Now, total-wise, we're looking at a Tennessee team who's 3-1 to the under thus far in the year. And Buffalo on the other side, they're 4-0 to the under. So should see a defensive stronghold in this one. I'm going to lean Tennessee minus 2 and the under 38.5 in that game. Next matchup, Chicago Raiders. 1 o'clock England. That's at the Tottenham Hotspur. Love that name, the Hotspur. But anyway, they're across the pond, and the Bears are minus 5, total 41.5. We saw a 1-point fade of Chicago and movement upward on the total. The Bears open 6, down to minus 5, total open 41, up to 41 and a hook. 58% are leaning Raiders, 51% shaded toward the under. Right now, Oakland's 2-2 on the year with a 2-2 record against the spread. Chicago on the other side, 3-1 straight up on the year, 2-2 against the number. Oakland is allowing 26 points per contest. They gave up 34 to Minnesota and 24 last week to Indianapolis. This Oakland offense is averaging just 12 points per contest in their 2 losses. They failed to cover in those games as well. They've dropped 6 out of their last 7 matchups with the NFC, and they're 0-5 against the number in their last 5 ball games, taking on a member of the NFC North. They have Harrison Nelson listed as questionable. They have Crowell, Ellis, Jackson, Lee, Peterman, and Abram all listed still as out, not going to play. Now, Chicago, on the other side, their defense has been just phenomenal over the past couple of seasons. They're unreal. They're simply unreal. They're allowing 11 points per contest. They haven't given up more than 15 points per game all season. And when it comes to the Chicago team, they have wins over Minnesota, Washington, and Denver. And they are 6-2 against the spread in their last 8 games played in October. Now, total-wise, Chicago 8-1 to the under in their last 9. I'm going to lean Chicago Bears -5 in the under 41.5 in that game. Next matchup, Ravens. I am all over the place here, guys. Ravens. Steelers. 1 o'clock, Steel City. The Ravens are -4, total 42.5. 51% are leaning toward Pittsburgh. The Steelers are 0-3 on the year, 1-2 against the number. Baltimore on the other side, 2-2 on the season, 1-3 against the number themselves. Pittsburgh's been a bad covering team when healthy, especially over the past couple of seasons. They've also failed to cover in 7 out of their last 10 head-to-head matchups with Baltimore. This Pittsburgh defense gave up 24 points or more in every game this year. They're actually, to be exact, they're giving up 28.3 points per contest. Now, Baltimore on the other side, they're averaging 34 points per game. They can really light up that scoreboard. They're 7-3 against the spread in their last 10, taking on the Steelers. When it comes to the total, Baltimore's 3-1 to the over thus far in the year. I'm going to lean Baltimore -4 in the over 42.5 in that game. Next matchup, Vikings, Giants. 1 o'clock Eastern kickoff at the Meadowlands. The Giants, they're the underdogs in this one. Danny Dimes coming in as the 4.5-point dog. That's right, Minnesota, -4.5, total 45. We saw a half a point move toward Minnesota and movement downward on the total. The Vikings open -4, up to -4.5. Total open 46, down to 45. 55% are leaning New York, 82% shaded toward the under. Both teams coming into this game 2-2 straight up and 2-2 against the spread. Now, Minnesota's 0-2 straight up away from home this year. They've also failed to cover in those 2 away games. Now, the Giants on the other side, 2-0 straight up in their last 2, 2-0 against the spread in those games. And, of course, those are the Danny Dimes era games. Daniel Jones getting the job done for his backers. Now, this offense for the Giants are averaging 28 points per contest in those 2 games I just mentioned. And when it comes to the total, we're looking at a Giants team who's 2-0 to the under at home. Meanwhile, Minnesota 2-0 to the under when traveling this year. I'm going to purchase the half a point, buy it up, and take the home dog in this one. Give me the Giants +5 and the under 45 in that game. Next matchup, Broncos, Chargers. 4:05 Los Angeles. The Chargers are 6.5, total 44. 65% are leaning Los Angeles. 51% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Broncos are 0-4 on the year, 1-3 against the spread. The Chargers on the other side, 2-2 straight up, 2-2 against the number. We have Jackson, James, Callahan, Jones, and Chubb all listed as questionable for the Broncos. Meanwhile, this Broncos offense, they are questionable. They are suspect themselves. They're averaging just 17 points per contest. They failed to cover taking on Jacksonville, Green Bay, and Oakland this year. Now, the Chargers on the other side, kind of tough to predict. These guys are all over the place, but their offense is averaging 23 points per contest. They successfully covered the number against Miami and Indianapolis. They held their opponents to 13 points or less in 2 out of their last 3 games. Now, total-wise, the Chargers are 3-1 to the under thus far on the year. Denver, 2 out of their 4 games stayed under the line as well. I'm going to lean Chargers -6 after buying the hook and the under 44 in that game. Next matchup, Packers, Cowboys, 425 Dallas. The Cowboys are -4, total 47.5. We saw movement toward Dallas and movement downward on the total. The Cowboys open -3, up to -4, total open 48, down to 47 and a hook. 60% are leaning Packers. And at the moment, both teams are 3-1 straight up on the year. Both teams are also 3-1 against the spread. Now, this Green Bay offense is averaging 27 points per contest in their last couple of games. Their defense is allowing just 11 points per contest between weeks 1 and 3. So both sides of the ball showing they can be completely competent. Green Bay, they have great covers over Chicago, Minnesota, and Denver. They're also 10-4 straight up in their last 14, taking on the NFC East if you're into historical trends. Now, Dallas, a little bit banged up, got a pretty full slate of guys on the injury list. We have Smith, Crawford, Frazier, and Gifford all listed as questionable. Both Woodses are out for Dallas. Both Woodses are out, and Gallup is out as well. Dallas failing to cover in 4 out of their last 5 AFC North opponent games. They're also 2-5 straight up in their last 7 Week 5 games, dating back the past 7 seasons. If you're into historical trends, they're not good in Week 5. Now, total-wise, Dallas is, they're averaging 32 points per contest through Weeks 1 through 3, throwing out last week. And even if you include their shitstorm of a game yesterday, excuse my language, their offense is still averaging 27 points per contest. Now, Green Bay on the other side, they're 2-0 to the over in their last 2. I'm going to lean toward the road dog in this one. I like Green Bay +4 and the over 47.5 in that game. Next matchup, Colts, Chiefs. Sunday night game, 8:20 Eastern kickoff in Kansas City. The Chiefs are -10, total 57. So a 1.5 point move toward Kansas City, 3-point move toward the over. The Chiefs open 8.5 up to -10, total open 54 up to 57. 67% are leaning Chiefs, 84% shaded toward the over. Right now, the Colts are 2-2 on the year, 2-2 against the spread. The Chiefs on the other side, 4-0 straight up on the year, 3-1 against the number. The Chiefs are 5-2 ATS in their last 7, dating back to last year. They're also 5-1 against the number in their last 6, taking on an AFC opponent. The Chiefs have scored 28 points or more in every game this year. They have marquee covers over Baltimore, Oakland, and Jacksonville. Now, the Colts on the other side, they have Hilton, Mack, Leonard, and Lewis all listed as questionable. Handful of those guys in concussion protocol. We also have Sheard, Funchess, Hooker, and Patterson still listed as out. They're not going to play. The Colts have lost to Oakland and the Chargers. They gave up 61 combined points in those losses. The Colts are 1-6 straight up in their last 7, taking on the AFC West. And when it comes to the total, Indy is 3-1 to the over thus far on the year. Chiefs 3-1 to the over themselves. I'm going to lean Kansas City -10 and the over 57 in that game. And we're going to slide into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Browns. Another primetime Browns game taking on the Niners. 8:15 San Francisco. The Niners are -3, total 47.5. Saw movement downward on the spread and upward on the total. The Niners open -4, down to -3. Total open 47, up to 47.5. 51% of the consensus is leaning toward Cleveland. 86% shaded toward the under. Right now, San Francisco is 3-0 straight up on the year, 2-1 against the spread. Meanwhile, the Browns 2-2 on the year, 2-2 ATS. San Francisco is averaging 32 points per contest. Meanwhile, their defense is holding their opponents to just 18 points per game. Cleveland failed to cover against the Rams and Tennessee. Their defense is allowing 23 points per contest, and they gave up 20 points or more in 3 out of their 4 games this year. Now, total-wise, Cleveland 2-1 to the under in their last 3. San Francisco 2-1 to the under in their last 3 themselves. I'm going to lean 49ers -3 and the under 47.5 in that game. All right, guys, we're going to slide into our quick pick recap brought to you by patreon.com/BrockPage. We got the Niners -3 under 47.5. Packers +4 over 47.5. Chargers -6 under 44. Buccaneers +6 over 47.5. Patriots -14 under 45.5. Jets +14 over 44.5. Giants +5 under 45. Jacksonville +4 under 41. Bears -5 under 41.5. Titans -2 under 38.5. Baltimore -4 over 42.5. Houston -5 under 49. Cardinals +5 under 48.5. Rams winning that one outright in the pick'em in the over 49. And last but certainly not least, we have the Chiefs -10 and the over 57 points in that game. All right, guys, that is going to do it for me. Once again, don't forget to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage, where we are 2-0 in our last 2 NFL teaser plays. We're 13-3-1 in our last 17 daily double picks, and we are 14-3-1 in our last 18 college football plays. There's plenty of free content there as well, including my current record. Link for that website is in the description section below. That is patreon.com/BrockPage. But I got to thank you for watching me right here on YouTube. That's the most important thing. Got to thank you for watching me right here on YouTube. I really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. Happy Monday to you. Happy NFL Week 5 to you. Best of luck to you. And don't forget to check me out on patreon.com/BrockPage.